Despite having ridden for quite a few years now, there are some bad habits that I have while riding a bike that I still find myself slipping into. I met up with my friend Coach Ken, elite cyclist and professional cycling coach, for a ride, catch up, and to discuss why these habits should be avoided. I've got this special thing that I do when someone gets a puncture.
What's that?
I stand and film them.
You don't help?
Yeah, this is helping.
Can you help by telling me if this is the right kind of tube?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, okay.
First bad habit is really relevant because you're eating a mug of soup.
Yeah, bad cycling habit number one, not eating on bike rides.
Not even enough on that ride.
That whole mindset of, oh, I can get through it. I know I'm going really well when I can do 5 hours with only water and don't need any food. That's when I know I'm going really well. Where actually they're doing 5 hours with no water, it's taken them 4 days to recover from it, and they can't sprint. It's not a good thing to be getting through rides without needing any food. You should be fueling. It helps your recovery, it helps you ride hard, and it'll be way better for your long-term progression if you actually eat during your bike rides.
This is such a easy thing to slip into, even when you're an experienced rider though. It almost more so if you're an experienced rider.
Yeah.
Because you get complacent. The fitter you are, the more you can get away with not eating.
Yeah, exactly. The trap people fall into is that they can finish the ride without eating, so therefore they think they don't need to eat. But finishing a ride completely depleted of all energy is not good for you. If you just keep topped up with carbs all the way through the ride, you give your body the energy it needs whilst it needs it. And you don't get super hungry after the ride, you don't binge for the rest of the day, and you can just eat like a normal person when you're off the bike. And you'll recover much faster, and it's much better for your long-term progression if you just eat a little bit throughout your training. It doesn't have to be super precise, just always be eating in little bits, little and often whilst you're riding, rather than actively trying to pursue how far you can go without eating, because it's not good for you.
Before you're hungry or when you feel a bit hungry?
You shouldn't be getting hungry. It's almost too late then.
So you heard him. Take a cup of soup on your ride. How?
Bimo. I have no idea how we got up there. He came from above. How is he doing that? Oh my god.
Number 2 of bad cycling habits, not surfing wheels properly. There's a huge benefit to being sat in someone's draft or just riding behind them when you're on a ride. The bigger the group, the easier it is to hide from the wind, and it's used all the time in racing to save energy, right?
Sitting in the wheels, you can save up 25 to 30% of the energy it takes to keep yourself going forwards. So the more you can find opportunities to sit behind people rather than out to the side or feel like you need to be riding on the front all the time, the more energy you can save, and you can ride a lot further, have a lot easier time of it, and get where you want to be without absolutely slogging yourself all the time. Don't be afraid to sit in the wheels. But I think one of the things we wanted to cover was you need to be quite close to the wheel in front of you, but not so close that you're crossing over, because that is a really bad habit, crossing wheels with the person in front of you and causing a potentially dangerous situation for everyone. If you get so close to that rider that with one flick of the wheel from them they'd knock you off your bike, you're going to cause a problem for everyone in the group. So you want to be within a metre of the person in front of you, but not so close that there's an overlap. When you see people hanging 3, 4, 5 metres back because they're a bit worried about getting too close, they're losing a lot of that benefit that comes from sitting in the wheels and saving energy. So you need to be confident enough to get in there and be within that kind of 1 metre of the rider in front of you.
We were chatting about this off camera and talking about the wattage saving instead of thinking about it in terms of percentages, and I think it really demonstrates how much energy you're saving.
Yeah, well, saving 25% of your energy doesn't really mean a lot until you say, right, if you're riding on the front at 400 watts, the person behind's doing 300 watts, and that's a much more sustainable pace for a lot of people. 400 watts is not very sustainable for many people at all for very long. 300 watts you can do for a hell of a lot longer. So the more time you can put yourself in that situation, not having to do the 400 watts on the front, the better the bike ride's going to be, the further you'll go, easier it'll be, more energy you'll have at the end to attack, to win, to drop everyone, whatever it is you're trying to do. Get the Richmond Park KOM.
Yeah, of course. All the biggest challenges.
All the big
cycling.
ones.
Yeah. Next bad habit that I'm really guilty of is not being consistent with my rides, particularly when I'm training to try and get faster. This one is more geared towards your performance-based cyclist, so if you're looking to get faster, well, listen to this.
It's another trap that I see people fall into quite often. That's thinking that one long ride per week is as good as 5 little rides per week. Because everyone's so focused on, I did 100 miles, I can do 5 hours. We'll focus on that one big ride, that they ride so hard on it and go so deep that they're so tired for the rest of the week that they don't do much riding at all. So you're far better off doing it little and often. 5 1-hour rides arguably are better than 1 5-hour ride per week, because you're telling your body to get fitter 5 times per week then, not just once per week, and you've given it such a big signal for adaptation that you're wrecked for the next 7 days. So in my opinion, consistency is absolutely key. So I'd much rather people who are doing little and often, riding 4 or 5 times per week, even if that means sacrificing the big 5-hour ride or even the 3-hour ride. If you can get more quality in throughout the course of the week, you're far better off doing it that way than just saving it all up.
Will there be a risk of losing that tolerance to do a longer ride because you haven't had the time in the saddle?
It is a good thing to get used to being out for a long time, but I think that comes more from once you've done it a few times, you know your position is good, you know how much you need to fuel, you know you can do a long ride. You don't need then to do that long ride every time in order to develop fitness. You don't need to go further on the next time in order to get more fitness. You can build up overall training volume much more easily by breaking it out into multiple rides over the course of the week, rather than saving it all for one big hit out at the weekend. Because you're less tired overall, you can do more hours. If you do an hour and a quarter 5 days a week, that's 6 and a bit hours. What would that be? 6 and a quarter hours, rather than 1 5-hour ride a week, that's 5 hours. So arguably you've done more training volume, so you'll get fitter on your 1 1/4 hour rides than you would on a 5-hour ride. There is something to be said for every now and again you need to go for a long ride to understand your pacing and fueling needs, and whether your neck starts hurting after 2 hours.
I was going to say comfort or contact points and getting used to it.
Yeah, exactly. So like, my shoes and my cleats set up are fine for 1 hour, but after 2 hours I've got hot spots, I'm going numb, I'm getting numb hands. Those kind of things are sort of separate to performance, and I'm coming from the angle of you've already sorted those things out.
Yeah.
You already understand that you can get through a 5-hour ride with that setup. I'm saying don't save up all your training hours throughout the week just for that one big ride because you think it's all about the big ride. It's not. It's about overall volume and consistency, not just how far you can go in one day. We've got his and hers soup mugs.
Is that a bad habit you need to break?
No, but yours is hers, so just saying.
This next one's for you, Ken.
Yeah, this is a bad
worse
cycling.
than me.
No, I said this is not one that I do, but it's one that I see a lot. It's riding in the gutter. And this is more from like a safety, things you should be doing on the bike perspective. If you ride too far to the left and you're riding in the gutter right on the side of the road because you feel like you want to give the cars behind you space to overtake, you're almost inviting them through and encouraging them to do a close pass and overtake you without sufficient room. So if you look at what the highway code says, it suggests you should be on secondary position, round about a metre away from the curb, unless it's a narrow or busy road or you're doing less than 10 miles an hour. And if you position yourself out just a little bit, it forces drivers to actively overtake you. So they have to think about, is it a safe time to overtake? And yes, it'll slow them down and it might upset them a little bit, but if you take that defensive position and you're riding, everyone's a lot safer for it. There's a risk of upsetting people, but if everybody stays alive, that's the best thing to do. Yeah, it's more important for you to ride defensively and do the right thing than it is to not upset anyone because you're trying to get out of the way and ride in the gutter. That is a bad habit that I see a lot of people fall into. And it's also combined with waving cars through. So there's someone behind me, I feel a bit guilty that I'm slowing a car down, I'm going to wave them through because I think it's safe to overtake. And you're almost assuming liability for their bad overtake if you've waved them through. So I think that's a really bad habit to avoid. If you're really bothered about slowing the car down, find a place that it's safe to pull over and just get off the road and get out of the way and wait till it's clear and start riding again. Don't be waving people through, because they'll just overtake then and won't think about it. And then it'll be on a corner and there'll be someone coming the other way. And as a cyclist, you're never going to win the fight when people are driving 2-ton metal boxes and they've got seatbelts and airbags and you haven't. You've got a few millimeters of lycra and a little helmet. They're always going to win. So riding defensively, even though it upsets a few car drivers, is always the best thing to do. As long as you're within the limits of the highway code, that's what you should be doing, rather than trying to let people squeeze by.
Half wheeling. Some of you guys might have heard of this but don't know what it means. You see it all the time when you're out and about riding with other people. I do it on purpose sometimes.
With people that you want to make sure know you're faster than them.
Yeah, or you just want to make them suffer.
Yeah, like the Astana team.
Yeah, the Astana team.
Exactly. Those guys.
Can you give a brief explanation of what half wheeling is?
Yeah, half wheeling. So if you're riding in a group, this generally happens when you're riding two abreast, and it'll be one person just pushing the pace on just a little bit and forcing the other person to catch up so that they're alongside them. It just always puts one person in a slightly uncomfortable position because they're going just a bit faster than they want to, and it becomes really annoying if you're always having to ride a little bit harder than you want to ride because the person next to you is trying to edge in front the whole time.
As soon as they catch up, you then go again. Move forward a bit more.
Yeah, and you get into this like vicious cycle of going faster and faster because you always want to be the person at the front, edging forward a little bit, and it just like ends up in people getting annoyed. So it is a legit bad habit.
It's also going to be really annoying for the people riding behind you as well. Like generally this happens on group rides when people want to prove they're the strongest rider in the group, and it's just a miserable experience for everyone by the end.
It's so easy to fall into that trap. I'm guilty of it. I've done it all the time.
Yeah.
Because I've been on group rides where there's like guys who are pro or ex-pro, and I end up on the front with them and I'm like, wow, gonna give this a nudge. I'm gonna half wheel this ex-pro. Come on. And all of a sudden we've done 10 minutes at 400 watts trying to pace the crap out of each other on the front, and everyone behind's going, fucking slow down.
Or they're gone.
Yeah.
So I hope some of that information was useful and will help you avoid developing some bad habits. A big thanks to Ken for helping out with today's video. He is a cycling coach and is available for hire. So if you're interested in getting a bit faster on your bike and taking steps to pursue the sport in a slightly more serious way, he's available, and I'll put the information to contact him down below. All of the footage with Ken today was actually shot a couple of weeks ago before the second lockdown, and there's actually one more video to come featuring him which I'll release in the next week or so. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.